Interlagos, 2025. A circuit soaked in history, drama, and ghosts of championships past. Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari makes contact with Franco Colapinto's Alpine. Light touch. No spin. No carnage. 5-second penalty. 1 super license point. End of story. Except it wasn't. Because what Nico Rosberg said next didn't just shake the paddock, it exposed a crack in Formula One's foundation that's been growing for years. Does the FIA judge all drivers equally, or are some names too big to be held by the same rules? This isn't about one penalty, it's about a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's rewind to lap 1. Turn 1, Hamilton's SF25 clips Carlos Sainz. Front wing damage, significant damage. The wing doesn't just break, it lodges itself under the flat bottom of the car. Ferrari's telemetry later confirms the brutal truth. 35 to 40 points of downforce gone. Half a second per lap evaporated. But a Formula One car is engineered to the millimeter. Every surface, every angle, calibrated for perfection. When that balance breaks, the entire machine becomes unpredictable. Hamilton's Ferrari stops being a scalpel. It becomes a wounded animal, twitchy under braking, unstable through high-speed sections, impossible to place with precision. He's not driving anymore. He's surviving. Then comes the moment with Colapinto. The Argentine makes a small error exiting the previous corner. Hamilton sees the gap. He dives, but his car doesn't respond the way it should. The SF25 moves erratically, a direct result of the compromised aerodynamics. Colapinto defends. Hamilton can't hold the line. Like contact, light. Minimal, no advantage gained, no lasting damage. And yet, 5 seconds. 1 penalty point, full responsibility. Fred Vasseur, Ferrari's team principal, presents telemetry to the stewards. Hard data showing the car's instability. Proof that this wasn't reckless driving, it was mechanical inevitability. The FIA ignores it. They cite Article 38.2 of the International Sporting Code. Anyone who causes a collision can be sanctioned. Case closed. But here's where the story gets dark. Nico Rosberg doesn't explode. He doesn't rant. He dissects. In his post-race analysis, Rosberg asks the question everyone's been thinking, but no one dares say out loud. Does the FIA apply the same standard to everyone? Or do big names get treated differently? It sounds like an opinion. But when you look at the evidence, it starts to feel like documentation. Because this isn't the first time technical context has been dismissed. It's not the first time identical incidents received opposite verdicts. And it's definitely not the first time the penalty seemed to depend more on the nameplate than the data. Rosberg isn't defending Hamilton out of friendship. Their rivalry was legendary and strained. He's defending something bigger, the principle that rules must be applied equally. Because if they're not, then what are we even watching? Here's what the FIA won't admit. In a sport defined by engineering, data, and science, they made a decision based on nothing. They evaluated the incident in isolation. No consideration for the 35 points of downforce loss. No acknowledgement of the compromised handling. No analysis of why the car moved the way it did. Just Hamilton caused contact. Penalty issued. It's the equivalent of a doctor diagnosing symptoms without checking vitals. Fred Vasseur didn't just complain, he brought receipts. Differential speed between the cars, telemetry proving erratic behavior, evidence that there was no aggressive intent, no sporting advantage, no malice. None of it mattered. And this is where Rosberg's accusation becomes impossible to ignore. He's not saying the FIA got one call wrong. He's saying they're operating with a flawed system, one that bends depending on who's involved. Engineers don't understand how certain maneuvers get ruled. Drivers facing identical situations receive opposite consequences. Teams lodge formal complaints with data and get silence in return. The regulation exists. Article 38.2 is clear, but clarity without consistency is just theater. So what does this mean? For Hamilton, It's a result that doesn't reflect reality. A penalty that punishes circumstance, not action. For Ferrari, it's frustration. Hundreds of millions invested in technology, data systems, engineering excellence, and none of it matters when a decision gets made in 90 seconds without proper analysis. For the FIA, it's something far more dangerous: credibility erosion. Because when voices like Rosberg, a former world champion, a man who understands both the politics and the physics, start questioning the system publicly, it's not just noise. It's a reckoning. Fans begin rewatching old incidents. Journalists start comparing penalties side by side. Engineers whisper in the paddock about decisions that make no technical sense. The inconsistency isn't a bug. It's becoming the feature. And once that perception takes hold, it doesn't matter how advanced the cars are or how big the budgets get. The sport loses legitimacy, because if racing outcomes are shaped by inconsistent refereeing, then every championship becomes questionable. Every victory carries an asterisk. Every rivalry gets tainted by doubt. This isn't just about Brazil 2025. It's about every race decided by a penalty that didn't make sense. Every driver who second guesses a move because the rules feel like a lottery. Every team that wonders if their data even matters. So where does Formula One go from here? Scenario 1. The FIA doubles down. They defend the decision, cite precedent, and hope the noise fades. But the whispers don't stop, they grow louder. And with every inconsistent call, the crack widens. Scenario 2. They admit the problem, full transparency, public review process, technical advisors involved in every decision. It won't be perfect, but it's a start toward rebuilding trust. Scenario 3. Nothing changes. The controversies keep piling up until one maybe not this year, maybe not next becomes too big to ignore. And by then, the damage is already done. Here's what we know for certain. Nico Rosberg just said what the paddock's been thinking for years. The FIA has a credibility problem, and ignoring it won't make it disappear. So tell me, how many more questionable calls can Formula One survive before fans stop believing the sport is fair? And when someone with Rosberg's authority calls out the system, shouldn't we be listening? Because right now, the biggest battle in Formula One isn't on the track. It's in the steward's room, and nobody's sure who's winning.